In a way, our dependence to get services from government will also reduce, which is good for the government and good for us. So at least they have funds which are available to be prioritized for the people who need that priority, rather than people who do not need the priority. So this economy will reduce the dependence on the government spending. It will enable the society and the people and the businesses to deliver those services through the IoT and its impact on the GDP. Okay. And let's say, coming to India once again as to what's happening is that today there is, in 2013, 60% people were under 25, but in another 3 years' time, 54% people will be over 25. Rural, urban, it's almost going to become 1.5 times, 29% to almost 54%, the second line from the top here. Right. Gender biases, I think it'll again, and we have seen about the problems of gender biases today in our society. It's all pervasive. We are having some negative publicity. Hopefully, this will help solve the problem. Okay, and you see, the only response governments are doing for security, they're launching mobile apps. We have a mobile app for women for safety in Delhi and Mumbai police also now. So it is not around more security. It is not around putting more policewomen in the thing. The first response was to have mobile application so that they can quickly register their problems, without having to come to the police station. Okay. The usage of internet in any case is known very well, and another interesting part would be the language part of it. When I was growing as a child, English medium schools were practically considered to be, necessity to grow in life. I'm very sure the Internet of Economy things will neutralize the importance of English to a very large extent. The importance will remain. I'm not anti-English, by the way, but at the same time, I'm only saying that those people who feel handicapped for not knowing English adequately will certainly be enabled over here. Okay. And so, in short, I'll like to leave the stage for few of my colleagues also to share their perspective. I don't want to hog the limelight. You can imagine when 1876, this first cable came to India from London, and to now today, we have evolved as a country, and there's a long way to go. And we believe internet and digital economy will certainly help us go on the growth path much faster, much better, and we will have ubiquity of development across the country. And I'm sure as we, the enablers of internet across the globe, we certainly will take part and make our contribution to help make better and digital India. Thank you very much. Just practical. I didn't want to show this slide, but let me just still quickly show it. And the possibility, here is the certificate, digital economy. He made all the 5 investments in his personal capacity, and I'm not canvassing for him on these companies, by the way, just a point. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandeep. It was indeed thought-provoking, fantastic. Just wanted to add a small counter melody before we move to the next presentation. Think about a time where a book called Animal Farm came in some years ago. I think it was in the 70s. It was in the communist period, and talking about every person having a separate identification number, very much lack of personal space, where there'll be data gathered all over, and that was considered to be tremendously bad, this communist. Today, exactly the same thing is happening. Just think about it. With that thought, I request Mehraj to take the stage.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, you'll have to excuse my sore throat. for today. Just to give a brief introduction about myself, I work with Tech Mahindra. I've been with Tech Mahindra for the last 10 years. I'm responsible for Digital Enterprise Solutions, which is a business unit in Tech Mahindra, primarily from a GTM solutioning and sales perspective across the globe. What I'll talk about today is primarily on digital trends, especially from digital disruption that's predicted or that's expected to happen across the globe, across industries. I'll try and feed in a few examples of the kind of disruption that is expected to happen in the industries, and I'll also talk about some of the solutions that are evolving as a part of this disruption and how some of the industries are adapting to them. With that, I'll go on to this slide is just to set the context of what Tech Mahindra treats as digital solutions. Primarily, it's a mix or a convergence of these leading edge technologies like network, mobility, analytics, cloud, social media, security, and sensors. Sensors primarily being IoT or Internet of Things kind of solutions. And a convergence of these technologies or solutions built out of a convergence of these technologies is primarily what at TechM we classify as digital enterprise solutions. And it is this convergence of technologies is what the kind of disruption that is predicted or that is likely to happen. Now, this is a very interesting slide that shows some of the analysts have predicted a disruption to the tune of $30 trillion by the year 2020, and very, very prevalent in industries like BFSI, manufacturing, and energy and utilities. What is interesting to note is that some of the corporates, 465 corporates have moved out of the Forbes 2000 list in the last couple of years, and many more expected. And this is primarily because these corporates have not adapted to these recent new age technologies, and therefore they risk the peril of being disrupted. Very classic example of this is a company called Kodak. We all know Kodak was a market leader in the photography and camera industry at one point in time. Today, if you see the Kodak factory in London, it's a real sad state or a sorry state of affairs. It's gone bankrupt. There is nobody at the factory, and it's primarily dislodged by whom? By the Apples and the Samsungs of the world. The industry has evolved. The industry has changed. This company did not change, and therefore it got disrupted. So this is just one example. There are several more that can be quoted and that can be quoted out here. This is one of the predictions that one of the analysts, which is Zinov, has provided. Now, this is how I see the Internet of Things market or the digital market primarily categorized into three different buckets. One is the device-centric market, which is around 40% of the overall market today, primarily prevalent in manufacturing, telecom, and healthcare, life sciences. Now, when I say device-centric, it's primarily focused around machine-to-machine, sensors, connected devices, connected machines, and so on and so forth. Of course, it has the elements of analytics, mobility, and cloud to it, but the core of it is machine-to-machine sensors, and that's what I call device-centric. Coming to app-centric, which is another 40% of the market today, and that's primarily revolving around the SMAC technologies, which you would have probably heard a lot about yesterday. And when I say the core of it is mobile analytics and cloud, and very, very prevalent in the banking, BFSI sector and retail sector. And today, the very small portion of it is the third bucket, which is the hybrid market, which is around 20%, where both of these, the device-centric and the app-centric, have an equal weightage. But this is the market which is slated to grow at the greatest extent. As this market keeps on maturing. Today, it's still in its nascent stage, in its infancy stage, and therefore device-centric and app-centric is the chunk is very high. But going forward in the next 5 years, the hybrid market is where we see the maximum growth. this is just to give a view of industry-wise potential of the overall digital market. Again, IT and technology, education, life sciences is where we see digital technologies really playing a real prevalent role. Some facts and figures on the left-hand side, around devices getting connected, and all different. I mean, analysts and give all sorts of figures. But yes, it is true that by the year 2020, the world is going to explode because of data, or there's going to be an explosion of data, and that is where the organizations which capitalize on them and invest in them at this point in time are going to reap the rewards going forward. Now, something about India. Yes, it has been, we've seen large-scale acquisitions. There has been an adoption of the SMAC technologies, of the digital technologies by Indian corporate or Indian ITs, Indian enterprises. The spend of around $6.4 billion US dollars on IT in the digital space or in the Internet of Things space has taken place in India. There have been large-scale acquisitions that have been seen in the SMAC market in the Indian context. So a lot that is happening in India, but what is very important is what's there on the bottom right-hand corner. India is slated to be the next Silicon Valley in terms of startups. Now today, if you see, the Indian startup economy is massive. We at Tech Mahindra actually incubate quite a few startups because we definitely foresee going forward next 4 to 5 years, many of these startups are going to disrupt the bigger or dislodge the bigger players in the market. Again, India is the emerging destination for digital enterprises or digital businesses. We all know that. I don't want to delve. What I really want to delve on is, what is going to happen by the year 2020 or in the next 5 years. How is disruption going to change some of the industries going forward? Now, if we see healthcare 2020 or how healthcare will look like in the next 5 years, with the cost of storing the genome or deciphering the genome, becoming cheaper and cheaper. I mean, it was a few $100,000 some years back. Today, it is around $2,000 to $3,000. Predicted to be around $100 to $200 going forward in the next 3 to 5 years. With that cost going down lower and lower, along with artificial intelligence and robotics being clubbed as a part of the healthcare industry, is the role of the doctor going to change? Is the role of the entire healthcare industry, is the entire healthcare industry going to evolve? Yes, it is going to change. Is the longevity of the human life going to increase? Yes, it is going to increase. By when? 5 years, 10 years, it's a matter of time. But because of these dramatic evolutions that are taking place in the industry, 100% healthcare is going to see a drastic change. India is making those sort of investments in genomics. Some of the corporates are making those sort of investments in genomics. And that is what is going to really see a dramatic change. You're going to be able to predict what kind of illnesses and what kind of things that are going to happen to human lives because of genome, because of predictive analytics, and because of robotics. And that is where we see longevity of human life getting much better and healthcare being dramatically changed. And this is not just in the healthcare industry. This is going to happen in every industry going forward. Banking. Today we are talking about crowdfunding. We have got crowdfunding platforms, and some of the ideas are being funded by the general public. Is the role of the banks going to change? Yes, it is going to change. With Bitcoins going to come and artificial currency going to playing a major role. It has not happened yet, but definitely foresee a role of the bank being changed. Education, 100% going to change. Is the role of the teacher going to change? It is going to change. With the kind of artificial intelligence and robotics being incorporated in the education sector, with MOOCs or massive open online courses coming into play in the education sector, is the role of the educational institute going to change? Yes. To what extent? we need to see. Is the role of the teacher going to change? Yes, because the robot, I mean, look at what IBM Watson is doing. It's something on the same lines. They preempt the mood of the child at any point in time in the day, and what is the best time and what is the best kind of lesson at that point in time that the child is likely to uptake or take up, and that's what is imparted using robotics. So yes, this is what is predicted. To what extent it will change, again, time will tell. Manufacturing. Sandeep did speak about the kind of changes that these leading edge technologies like 3D printing, robotics, and nano manufacturing is going to bring about. But one example I like to quote out here. We all know of this car manufacturer called Tesla, right, in US. Now, this is a case study actually. Tesla, when it was launched, it's an automatic car, it's an electric car, it's an automatic car, beautiful car. Excellent manufacturing excellence to its best. But when it was launched, typically when US has all automatic cars. So when one were to for an automatic car, when one leaves the foot of the brake pedal, the car starts getting into motion, and then one punches the accelerator pedal, and then the car moves. That was not the case for Tesla. For Tesla, you had to actually punch the accelerator pedal, and then the car would actually get into motion. People found it difficult to digest, and it was not accepted very well. So what